Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about influencer marketing and the campaigns we ran for the different countries. I am Veloso. I am VP of marketing VP of operation marketing as well. VP of operations for Airbrush app. So today's presentation is going to be influencer marketing, the good, the bad, the profitable. So this is just a little bit about the market itself. Right now, for every dollar you invest in influencers, 6.5 comes back to you. 99.3% of people would prefer Instagram. Me personally, I also would look to different networks. Instagram is awesome, but I think TikTok is also something that works really well, and other networks as well, even Twitter sometimes, depending on what you're trying to achieve. And here is a little bit of the source SEO as well if you're interested in checking. So this is types of influencers. So types of influencers, these will differ from different brands, I suppose. We usually work with these references. So micro influencers would be someone that it's up to 100K, though I would look at around 50K, just because when the influencer starts passing around 50, they become a little bit more professional and they are more aware and they've done more work. So they're actually starting to look a little bit more of a macro influencers, but a macro influencer. But at the same time, if you are like, this will depend on the strategy, right? So it depends on how you look at it. And then you have the mega influencer. This is just the way we classify. It doesn't mean that you have to classify the same way because, as always, each brand is different. So there's always this thing, right? Either you go big or you go home. It's not necessarily true for influencers. So this is actually a research done that shows that the engagement rate for smaller influencers, micro size influencers, is actually better than bigger influencers. This is usually true. In my experience, I have been working with influencers since 2016 for multiple countries. So I've done campaigns for US, Canada, UK, Australia, Russia, Brazil, Mexico, Colombia, you name it. My dream is to do Africa soon, and it will probably happen. But the thing is, like, what I've learned is smaller influencers, they do have a lot of people listening to them. Their network actually listens to them, which is different when you start having bigger influencers. They will also, smaller influencers, micro size influencers, they'll also be getting to know the brand in a deeper level, I think. And they're more interested in making the process very successful. So I feel like they're more interested. Not to say that bigger ones are not professional. Bigger ones can be as well. But this is just to say that going micro can work. This is a campaign we ran with $1,600 with 46 influencers. They were small. They were really small. They're around 5K to 20K followers. And we actually got a lot of installs. And if you work in the app environment, you know that when you grow in the category, you get more downloads, and that is something that we call organic uplift. So we actually got 10,000, almost 11,000 installs, plus 40K installs that came from organic uplift. So basically, because we grew in the category. So as you can see here, this is the trend for user acquisition. But also, this is what happened to us. Like in the very beginning of this curve, so if you look around, this is the 21st, but if you look around in the very beginning, you'll see that we go up, then we go down a little bit, then we go up, and then we go more, we even grow more. So this first, by the end of the graph, when you see this first growth, it was the first week we did the campaign. So we got everyone is very excited. So we got everyone to be, they were posting a lot. They were asking people to join and download the app. And then the second week, we saw a little bit of a down curve, still higher than average. This is looking at categories, okay? So third week, we started doing some bonus scheme where then we did like a competition between all of them. That worked really well. Also, but be careful with that because you should always pay attention to what it is that you're going to have as a prize. And then in the last week, we made a huge push, and we were around, like, if you see the trend, we were around the 80s. Then in the end of that campaign, we actually got to 21, and again, we got around 51K downloads. So that was a huge number for us. So this is 2017. This is we did some testing in 2016 where we were doing with very small groups the campaigns, and then we started growing this. So we started to expand this to other countries. So in the beginning of 2018, we started Russia, and we opened the Russian office. The first thing we did was to start doing smaller campaigns of influencers to actually create some sort of movement with all the influencers and also with the community to actually start engaging people around the app and our features. So this is the first campaign we ran, and we actually grew a lot. We were in the low 150s in the category, I suppose, and then we grew to the 50s. And then it was like, okay, so this works at all. Like this works too for other countries, not only Brazil, which was the first graph you saw there. So, and then we started growing, and we got more budget, and we started these first three campaigns. They were smaller influencers, micro influencers, influencers with less following. So they would be still under the 100K. And then more or less around the fourth campaign, we decided to add other types of influencers. So we decided to add people that were a little bit larger, but still not a huge amount of followers. And then we started mixing the micro influencers. So we would be running the campaigns all throughout the week with micro influencers, and then we would do a push for one day with a macro influencer, with someone with bigger following. And then we repeated that. And actually, for Russia right now, we're in a very good position. And then moving on to what we did in 2020, we actually started to replicate this, right? We started to replicate to the different countries. Each country had a different reaction. Sometimes we managed to do it really well with Latam countries. So we've managed to run campaigns in Mexico that went really well. We managed to do these micro influencer campaigns that actually got us a lot of downloads and rankings. And then we managed to actually support this instead of only having the pics. We actually managed to start supporting this in the different regions. But the US was always a country that was a little bit more resistant. And then we started actually working with a partner in this case specifically, and we would also be running. All our campaigns are CPI based. So what happens is we plan around CPI. First thing we do pay attention to is obviously the engagement rate, but you're going to have a specific seminar for this. Engagement rate is very important, but because we are a subscription app, we actually do need to calculate the cost of acquisition of our customers. So we have to in the end of the day, we have to transform everything to CPI. So for us, it was the US was always trickier, but then we started working with this partner, and we started working with TikTok specifically for the US, and then we started having some really good results, and we mixed as well. We didn't just got the micro influencers. In this case, for the US specifically, we actually got bigger and bigger and bigger, and we went bigger. And then going back a little bit to Brazil, we actually managed to go to position 1 twice. And the funny thing is, like, the interesting thing about Brazil was that we built campaigns around micro influencers for the longest time. So we had a share of voice. So we actually worked around growing this share of voice constantly. So we were always working with micro influencers, even if we couldn't at that point, or like, for example, in a month that we didn't have a lot of budget for Brazil, then we would continue having the micro influencer support. And that is what makes a lot of a difference when you're talking about keeping influencer campaigns, is that you need to keep the micro influencers going, because then when you add macro influencers or very big influencers, you're just boosting even more your presence. So this is the case for the first position we got here, the first time we got to number one. And then the second time we actually managed to have the bigger influencers doing the impact, but also the micro influencers actually supporting this impact for a longer period. So we actually managed to stay in number one for a longer period. So the do's: do daily rankings, create groups, very, very important. Bonus works, especially with small groups. Daily, weekly challenges, they really do work. Do a challenge, like get a group of small influencers. Try managing this inside your own team. Don't go the very beginning. You can try to partner with agencies, with partners, so you learn a little bit as well, but also do things in house, because you actually need to work around the difficulties, and also understanding influencers is part of your job if you want to actually run successful influencer campaigns. And then don't groups should not exceed 50. This is why we because the main thing is we use links. We treat micro influencers and then the overall influencer strategy as if we were working in an affiliate kind of environment. So each influencer, they have their link, and then we get the information for the installs, impressions, and overall metrics. Again, use money, don't use swag, because the thing is, these are professionals, and if you don't support their job, they'll not support your campaigns. So for the influencer future, and it's already happening, it's clear that people are moving more and more to micro influencers and creating communities instead of only going and only doing one campaign for one big boost. And then I obviously see more authenticity, more connection, more innovation. And as we go more tracking, and it's very noticeable that tracking is something that obviously everyone in the world of data wants to have more tracking. And tracking is very important for you to actually assess your success. And if you want to get in touch, you can always download WeChat and get in touch with me or add me on LinkedIn. Thank you very much.